Hello, everybody. My name is John Ralston. Do you have a Windows 10 computer that is collecting dust because it can't be upgraded to Windows 11? Well, I'm here to tell you about a way to solve that problem. Microsoft ended support for Windows 10 in late 2025. Before that, it made hardware requirements for Windows 11 a lot stricter. That means old devices can't be upgraded from Windows 10. If your version of Windows is even older than that, upgrading is likely impossible. You could buy a new computer or build one yourself. Thanks to the AI industry boom, though, those companies have been buying up computer memory components like they're going out of style. So prices have shot through the roof. The end result is that replacing an old computer is now a lot more expensive. So what choices do you have? You could decide to keep Windows 10, but without regular updates, you're running an increased risk of your computer being hit with a virus or malware. Maybe you've thought about switching to an Apple computer. That move is going to cost a lot of money too. After all, Apple is famous for its high prices. Attempting to install a version of macOS on an old Windows PC is not an easy task and not guaranteed to work. So, what can you do with that old Windows PC? There is another option, the Linux operating system. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm going through a career change and working on a degree in computer information systems. I started at Amarillo College in 2024. There, I took a class in IT support and received a brief introduction to Linux. After transferring to North Central Texas College, I took an entire class on Linux. I recently earned my official certification as an IT support specialist from the Computing Technology Industry Association, CompTIA. The knowledge and skills I received have enabled me to rescue an old laptop and an old desktop PC from the garbage by installing Linux. So, what are you going to need to make the switch? First, you need an old computer running an outdated operating system. The principles here will refer to Windows, but they are just as applicable to Mac OS with some caveats. Next, you'll need an external hard drive or USB stick for saving all your files currently on the outdated equipment. Third, you'll need a dedicated USB thumb drive to download the Linux operating system file to. Lastly, you need an up-to-date computer with internet access to perform the downloads. Before we begin, let me tell you a little bit about Linux. Linux is a free of charge, open source software. The program code is available to the public for anyone to read and modify as they choose. The creator is a Finnish software developer named Linus Torvalds. He created and still maintains the one kernel on which every version of Linux is based. Linux can be used in any environment. Most internet servers run on Linux, and Linux controls some of the most advanced supercomputers. Something for free sounds too good to be true, right? Not so with Linux. There are plenty of advantages to using Linux. It's less prone to viruses and malware. Linux comes with many applications pre-installed for free, no extra charge. One of those is an Office software suite with no subscriptions required. Are you listening, Microsoft? It's called LibreOffice, but there are other options available. So, if you install Linux, you get to save money not only on the operating system itself, but on some everyday applications. The thing you need to understand about Linux is that it is not just one operating system. It's an entire family of products, all related thanks to the Linux kernel. They each have their own characteristics or dedicated purposes. In the Linux world, the different versions are referred to as distributions or distros for short, or simply flavors. Let's look at a few. First, we have Ubuntu. This operating system, this flavor, is for desktop environments. It's popular for being easy to use, secure, and stable. Next, we have Linux Mint, which provides an intuitive experience for new Linux users coming from Windows. It has the option to install media drivers for video and audio, as well as a highly customizable desktop environment. Next, there is Fedora, which is designed for just about any environment. It always comes with the latest developments. It offers features for software developers, as well as an option to use different desktop environments. Lastly, in this list of examples, we have Zorin OS, an alternative to Windows and Mac OS because you can customize the desktop environment to resemble either Windows or Mac OS, depending on your preference. Zorin OS is especially good because it's designed to work on very outdated PCs. You can learn more about each distribution by visiting their websites. Over the years, some specialized distributions have been created. One example is Red Hat, an enterprise version. Red Hat offers stability, high performance, and built-in security. Next is Kali Linux. Kali is especially popular among cybersecurity professionals who do penetration testing because of all the tools that come pre-installed with the operating system. For this tutorial, we will use the latest version of Linux Mint. On the Linux Mint website, find the download option in the navigation menu. Linux Mint also comes in a few different versions, but we will use the one at the top, the Cinnamon edition. When you download a Linux operating system file, which is called an image in ISO format, you will want to verify its authenticity by following the instructions on this page and the one it links to. Better safe than sorry. Linux files are hosted in many different places known as mirror sites. The downloads can take a few minutes, so please be patient. There are various ways to install Linux on a computer, and here are 4 of them. First, you can create a dual boot system, which will leave your current Windows operating system in place and install Linux next to it so that you can have them side by side. The process is rather complicated, so we won't cover that here. Your next choice is to install Linux in a virtual machine. That's easier, but it requires you to install a separate piece of software. One popular one is called VirtualBox by Oracle, and it's available for free. A virtual machine allows you to test the software first before you commit to installing it. Your next choice is to boot from a flash drive. This requires you to adjust your computer settings, and we'll see how to do that in a second, but it also allows you to test the software first before installing it. This tutorial is going to discuss direct installation from a flash drive. This is where you need to download a handy tool called Rufus to properly save your Linux ISO file to a thumb drive. You insert the flash drive into the computer that has your Linux ISO image file saved on it. Once you've downloaded Rufus, you can just open it. It doesn't require separate installation. Tell Rufus where to find the Linux image file you want to use with the first two boxes. On the next step, you'll want to pay special attention to how old your equipment is. Depending on that, you may need to set either the MBR or GPT as your disk's partition scheme. If your computer is a lot older than 10 years, let's say, it probably works with an MBR, master boot record partitioning scheme. If it's a little younger, then you can probably safely set it to install a GPT partitioning scheme. Then you'll click the Start button and once again have to wait a few minutes for the live USB to be created. At this point, you need to make sure your files on the old computer are saved to a different device. After all, our plan is to delete everything from the old PC and do a fresh installation with Linux. Before rebooting, use the internet to find out which key to press based on your computer's manufacturer. You'll have to restart the PC, and then before it can start to load the current Windows operating system, you'll have to enter the basic input-output system known as the BIOS by pressing a special key. The possibilities are either the escape key or one of the function keys such as F2, F8, or maybe even F12. This kind of screen will indicate that you have successfully entered the BIOS, but your BIOS may look a little different. Nothing to be concerned about though. Once you're inside the BIOS, you need to change the computer's boot settings. That will ensure the computer looks for the operating system on the USB before it accesses the hard drive where Windows is installed. You'll want to manually, using your arrow keys, move to the Boot tab and then move up to the Removable Devices or something similar. Once you've done that, you'll need to save those settings and then exit the BIOS, probably by pressing the F10 key. Once you've done that, you can then turn your computer off. Before you continue with the installation, insert the flash drive into your computer. Restart the device and wait for it to load the operating system. At this point, pick the Start Linux Mint option. When the next screen appears, double-click the CD symbol to install Linux Mint. Your first step in installing Linux is to pick the language you want to see the interface in. Your next decision in setting up Linux is to choose the language and layout of your keyboard. At this point, you'll want to click the checkbox that will ensure Linux installs the special programs you need to play video and audio properly. They're called codecs. Since our intent is to remove Windows from the old PC, we will choose the option to erase the disk and install Linux only. This stage of the setup allows you to confirm how Linux will divide up the hard drive for proper installation of the operating system. Just click the Continue button. Here, you get to pick the time zone where you are located so the OS can set the clock properly. If you need to search for a location, you can use the search bar. When you see this screen, you need to enter a username and secure password for logging onto your computer. Congratulations! All the hard work is done. Now you get to sit back and wait for the operating system to finish installing. This box will allow you to watch as the components are installed. As soon as a desktop screen like this appears, you know your operating system has been successfully installed, and you are now a proud member of the Linux community. Let's review what we just learned. Old computers don't have to be turned into e-waste and taken to the dump. They can continue to work with Linux. Linux is a fully functional operating system. Anybody can install it at no charge. Linux allows you to install just about any everyday application for free. Linux is known for being generally more private than either a Windows or an Apple operating system. And Linux is also a lot less susceptible to viruses and malware. Here are some extra resources to help you get your start with Linux. Are you ready to make the switch? If you want or need to breathe life into an old Windows computer, now is a good time to convert to Linux. If you would like some help converting to Linux, feel free to get in touch with me. Thank you and goodbye.